Sports professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, the trillion-dollar business of sports, deal-making, business, law, politics, Olympics, more Olympics. Today, we have an in-depth interview with Scott Hamilton at his house in Nashville before he headed out to the Olympics. He's immersed in NBC family of networks coverage of the Olympics. We'll get a rare glimpse of him behind the scenes, his philanthropy, his charity, even his golf swing. If you want to hear more from Scott and you want to see the 15 to watch, 5 power of sports, 5 technical issues in sports this week, CSN Mid-Atlantic, CSN Washington, the NBC family of networks. Take a look on the website. And also subscribe, Google Play, Audio Boom, Apple, iTunes. Take a look at us in a lot of different places. We have a great show today, and the bottom line is all Olympics all the time first, and then Scott Hamilton. But before Scott, the Olympics, by the way, are being praised by everybody. The Olympics are being lauded on and off the track or snow or field. 60 tents damaged by winds and speed of 7 meters per second. Organizers warned of flying debris during the biathlon, for example. Many events postponed and rescheduled. The organizing committee has not been able to control, despite giving out thousands of free tickets, all those empty seats showing up on camera at virtually every event. So that's the worst thing about this. The best thing is we have a legacy. We have an event that may be a bit over budget, but the bottom line is, compared to Sochi and Rio, the legacy will be long-lasting. Contrast that, at least the first half of the Olympics, to the U.S. 98 in Nagano. U.S. finished with 6th at the medal table, just 13 in 68 events. These events may be the same kind of success. Michaela Schifrin, Nation Chen, medal favorites heading into their respective competitions. But the lack of medals also means a dearth of emerging stars. Red Gerard, yes. Chloe Kim, yes. Women's hockey captain Megan Duggan, yes. The brightest standouts in an otherwise unsure, at least at this point, American stardom coming out of the Olympics. How long will they last as stars? Up to the agents, up to the media. Let's talk about that next week. Obviously, the hockey team, the NHL relationships with everybody not around. U.S. getting to rounds that are a little farther. The bottom line is that the men seem to be acquitting themselves, and the NHL season continues to go along and staying open. So we understand how important that is from the NHL perspective. But a boon for women's hockey. USA gold medal match against Canada on Monday, undoubtedly becoming a marquee event for the games, and everybody's looking ahead, assuming it gets there. How about the Russian athletes? They wear neutral colors, play under the Olympic flag. Russian fans have brought an extra sense of pride and noise to Pyeongchang. Olympic athletes from Russia is not exactly the most patriotic yell, but they're loud and proud. Hockey, biathlon, figure skating, wrapped in flags and chanting in Russian. Russian curler, by the way, accused of doping, under investigation, and it may undergird all of the future OAR efforts in this Olympics and beyond. There are other Olympic issues, for example. When you take a look at some of the philanthropy that's involved as well, Para-Olympians share tips for mental training with current Olympians, and NBC looks forward to the Para-Olympics right after these events. Barclays, Big, Milk Life, others have been sponsors of the Paralympic movement for a number of years. Look at that to continue, at least generally. And then looking ahead beyond 2 weeks, how about 2 years? Tokyo 2020 already surpassed domestic sponsorship revenue for all prior Olympics. The IOC reporting domestic sponsors, the initial projections of nearly $3 billion. With the Games still more than 2 years away, 47 brands already on board. And that figure doesn't even include long-term IOC sponsors like Bridgestone, Panasonic, Toyota. For comparison purposes, London raised $1.5 billion or $1.1 billion for the 2012 Summer Games. Rio reported a figure a little higher, but the corruption bids mean you can't take any of their numbers seriously. Tokyo Organizing Committee able to cover their projected budget of nearly $6 billion without recourse to public funding. Japanese and Tokyo metropolitan governments paid the remaining $7 billion. And it's worth noting that since 1960, The median cost overrun for Olympic City has been about 90%. Pyeongchang expected to go about 60% over, but that's not the story. The story is they seem to all be doing the right thing, overcoming some issues of perceived security. North Korea, South Korea, the story of the first week of the games, and clearly the legacy for Pyeongchang and Korea seems bright, at least now, probably forever. Well, speaking of bright, it's an honor to have our interview on the Olympics before we go to the rest of the program. Scott Hamilton is touting his new book. It's called Finish First, Winning Changes Everything. And by the way, he talks about what happens when you finish last. But there's more to Scott Hamilton than all that. He wins his gold medal in '84 in L.A. You all remember that. He won 4 consecutive U.S. championships from '81 to '84, and in the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame in '90. But he lost his mom to breast cancer. He battled testicular cancer. He was diagnosed with a brain tumor and aneurysm from his first surgery, received a third brain tumor diagnosis 2 years ago, and in 2017, announced his tumor had shrunk without chemo. We talk a little bit about that in the interview, but his Hamilton Cares Foundation, starting in 2014, his Ski 8 to eliminate cancer, his foundations, his work on a Learn to Skate program with the Nashville Predators, and then ultimately with the NHL. He talks about skating and figure skating and normal hockey and learning to skate, all kind of the same. And the NHL looking to how to take it national. Scott Hamilton, truly one of a kind. Here he is now. Scott Hamilton, charitable, Predators, Olympic gold medalist, athlete, skater, humanitarian, and I'm honored to have Scott Hamilton call me a friend.
Oh,
thank you, my friend.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for making the trip. I know it was a hazardous one.
Yeah, just so we understand how important power sports is today, and the irony is not lost on me. So this is a multi-Olympic gold medal champion, and he can't get out of his house because the ice is too...
Well, no four-wheel drive cars. And in Nashville, you know what? It's a great excuse to stay home and to be with family.
Yeah, and the leverage was, of course, that you were here. Yeah. I mean, it's not the other way around. So
no, it was easy. So was that. Tell why both of us.
So off to the Olympics. Excited about Korea?
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. You know, it's there's the events are going to be beautifully skated. Competition's going to be really interesting. All 4 disciplines are going to be competed well. I'm excited. The ladies' competition, Medvedeva has looked unbeatable. Zagitova is I think my favorite, but she tends to make mistakes where Medvedeva doesn't. So then the third place Russian girl is really super strong. Probably should medal, but weak on spins. And there's a little bit of an Achilles heel. The 2 of the 3 Russians have sort of an Achilles heel, a little bit. But it'd be really exciting to see where America fits in with this new young team.
Medal.
On the ladies' side, on the men's side.
Okay.
Ooh, I don't know, maybe. Yeah. It's hard to say. Yeah, that's why they skate, right? That's why they hold the event. Yeah. And you never know how it's going to go. Men's side, Nathan Chen looks like he could medal. He's up against these powerhouses that have proven themselves time and second Olympic cycle. So it'll be really interesting to see where he fits in when you put them all on the same ice and the same warm-up and the same, apples to apples scoring system on the night. It'll be really interesting. But I think he's got a shot. I mean, outside shot for gold, but I would expect him to medal.
You're in the dynamics. We'll talk about all your philanthropic, charitable, Learn to Skate, Predators, all of that world, and it's a substantial world. But NBC also asks you to be current on Olympic stars. It just means a lot more work for you, right? But you are current, but you're also doing other things.
Well, I love skating. I love skating, and I love to watch it. I love to follow it. I love to, I don't feel 100% comfortable prognosticating as far as each event and how it all works.
That doesn't stop lesser intellects in other sports, by the way, just so as we know.
I know we all have an opinion, right? But it's like, I love to watch it. I love to promote it. I love everything about skating. It's given me the life that I have today. And I kind of get it, from a really specific point of view. And, again, it's just a phenomenal sport. an industry that needs a lot of help right now, but it's a great sport, very popular. It's the anchor sport of the Olympics, and it's always fun to go and witness history.
Well, let's talk about that anchor sport of the Olympics and the business. Judging, athleticism, recruiting, commercialization, media, a lot of things to talk about. How is the business of skating at 30,000 feet?
You know, it's getting better. I think it's hit its lowest point. I think it's on its way back up again. If you look back to the World Championships that were held in Boston, Massachusetts, it was to the rafters. And it was like the good old days. You know, they always talk about the good old days where every single nationals, we set another attendance record. And you know, this one was, you know, Boston knows how to do skating. They just get it. They did a great nationals. They did a great World Championships. They just did our biggest Skate to Eliminate Cancer fundraiser we've ever had by like quadruple almost. So Boston is kind of a breath of fresh air for skating, and I think that when you look at what's happening in LA, what's happening in Colorado, what's happening in Boston as far as coaching and as far as excellence, what you see happening a little bit in Chicago and Florida. You know, we've got some phenomenal training centers that are going to start pumping out good skaters, and hopefully we'll have one of those right here in Nashville sooner than later.
Good segue. We'll talk about general philanthropy in a minute, but Learn to Skate, the NHL hopefully understands that there are a lot of compatibilities between hockey players and general skaters, but describe for us your philosophy around Learn to Skate.
Well, I got into skating through a Learn to Skate program at Bowling Green State University, and the main thing I remember about it was just me and 150 other kids having a blast for 4 hours. And you know, I remember that my parents had to threaten me to get me off the ice. I just didn't. I want to be on the ice all the time, and that's the environment I want to create, or that I have created with our leadership of Paul, you know, Trujillo and Danny Butler, who's managing the rink. I mean, when we started this, Danny, who's managing the rink, felt like, yeah, we have to have a Learn to Skate. We just, you know, it's kind of rink management 101. What he didn't anticipate was, I think, how much he fell in love with our Learn to Skate. Yeah. Because, you know, when you put a hockey player on the ice, you get one skater, and then you get kind of parents fighting in the stands a little bit, you know? Right. When you put a skater into Learn to Skate, you eventually get the entire family into Learn to Skate. They become more invested in the facility. You create a whole community of every age level of skater, whether they want to pursue hockey or figure skating, recreational skating, or just get involved with the rink or the skating club or the hockey programs. It's creating this brand new community of people that have everything in common, and they just love to celebrate ice. And the Predators are the pioneer, but this will be a nationwide template around the NHL, and you're the pioneer of that. Well, I mean, you know, your mouth to God's ears. Yeah, right. But, you know, I think that what we've created is really unique, and it's really, we've got over 450 kids right now in Learn to Skate. We have over 150 3-year-olds. You know what that's like? Yeah. It's cats in a bathtub, but it's so much fun. That's well put, it's so much fun that, you know, it's just everything about it. Every time I get to the rink, I'm like everybody else that walks in on Learn to Skate Day. The second I hit that front door, there's a smile on my face, and I can't wait to get started. Before we get into philanthropy, it's been over 2 years since your diagnosis for the third brain tumor. How are you feeling? How are things going? Well, I've never been this old before. No, you haven't. And I've seen, we played golf before. So And I've never been this bad at golf before either. But, you know, it's, I stay vigilant. I tell everybody else, you know, to stay vigilant, know what's going on with your body, understand, you know, when something says something to you, act on it right away. And with this one, I've just sort of felt compelled to keep an eye on it and clean up my diet, clean up my exercise routine, clean up my life so that, you know, I'm stronger to kind of battle it however I have to. And, you know, so far, miraculous things. God gets all the glory on this one. Miraculous things are happening where, you know, craniopharyngioma, the nature of the brain tumor is it just grows into things and creates all kinds of mischief. This one's shrunk the last 2 scans and no one can explain it. So again, my faith tells me that the Lord is sparing me for another day, whatever that is, and I'm going to try to be obedient. Well, I will tell you from a
as spiritual as I can muster, you're too important to get taken away from us.
Oh,
so you better continue
you.
to be healthy and kick some butt.
Well, I'm working on it. Again, we're all works in progress, and
some of us are better than others.
Yeah. I got a lot to make up for, but I've got a beautiful family, 4 healthy kids, a wife that's very dynamic and involved in the world, and we're just trying to be light.
Let's talk about some of the various philanthropic things that you do. The Scott Hamilton Cares Foundation, talk a bit about that, where it is, where it's going.
Yeah, well, we started off, it was I survived cancer. And when I went through it, I lost my mom to cancer 40 years ago. And 20 years ago, I survived. And it was in that journey that I realized how much was missing in the cancer community, how much research needed to be done, obviously, but it was about, patient support, patient education. I went online to figure out what was going on with testicular cancer. And there were, you're a Harvard guy, right?
Yeah. Play one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
So there's 12 syllable words, sometimes 3 to a sentence.
That everybody's intimidated by, right?
Well, intimidated. Yeah. I thought either I'm really sick or I'm really stupid. Yeah. And I know that I negotiated my high school diploma, so I chose stupid. Yeah. But I realized there's a lot of people like me out there that can't read medical journal papers about their disease. So we created chemocare.com. CARE started off as a initiative at the Taussig Cancer Center at the Cleveland Clinic. And a few years ago, we decided to just start brand new, take the brand and build a dedicated foundation, thinking that we could really go broader, bigger, huger. It's hard. Foundation work is really hard, but every year we've been able to grow. Every year we've been able to pay our bills. Every year we've been able to make a contribution. This year is the biggest one we've made. So every year we're growing and we're building our base and we're setting a solid foundation. And we're really trying to fund the future of cancer treatment options.
But you also evolve specific programs that allow different kinds of people to participate, like Skate to Eliminate. What's that all about?
Skate to Eliminate Cancer is the brainchild of Nadia Kogler, who is a rank manager in Knoxville, Tennessee. Wow. And when we launched CARES, we were based out of Knoxville. And she said, do you mind if I do this thing? And they said, sure, that sounds like fun. And so she put together this peer-to-peer fundraising program, like a 5K or a marathon or a bike race, on ice. And she invited all their skaters to sign up and raise money through their email accounts and family and friends. And she raised in one afternoon $8,000. So it's like, okay, you're going on staff, and we're going to build this program. And so from that very first Skate to Eliminate in Knoxville, that was sort of almost like a flash fundraiser, Boston just did over $160,000 in an evening event. And it was spectacular to visit Boston Children's, where I was a patient, to visit Mass General and to see the work they're doing in cancer, and to benefit Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, which is like, my goodness, the granddaddy of them all, and to really start getting involved with these different cancer centers, holding fundraisers in their towns that benefit them directly, and to take this model nationwide with the help of U.S. Figure Skating has been an amazing growth opportunity, and it's really given us our really foundation of our income.
Paid political announcement, but one of my Harvard buddies was there, and we talked about him. He said he's stoic, but he was moved to tears, and his family was by what you did and how you did it.
Well, it was amazing. We had, these kids that would go out and raise, $1,000, $2,000. One girl raised over $10,000. Yeah. And then, Peter Lynch and the Witkowskis and their family got totally behind us, held a luncheon for us, which was its own fundraiser, and was heavily involved in, all their kids fundraised. It was just an amazing thing, and just the leadership was just phenomenal. And how they got behind it, they said they're going to go ahead, they're going to just put it on the pass line. And I say, I can't come to every one unless you raise over $25,000. And they go, we're going to commit to that right now. And then they had a meeting, and they're like, holy cow, how are we going to do this?
Yeah, well,
and then in 7 days they raised $25,000, and so they kept upping it. And finally they just started, just sort of putting up more thermometers because they broke past every single fundraising goal they made.
Which is a relevant point to your history in this. So you're one of the first celebrities to make a commitment to the Make-A-Wish Foundation as early as '97, and a lot of it was because of your own personal health issues, but a lot of it, I assume, is because you saw how much of a difference you could make in international philanthropy over the past 20 years.
Well, I learned a lot from Make-A-Wish. You know, when we started Stars on Ice, our very first corporate sponsor was Discover Card. Yeah. They were brand new, and we were brand new, so we were kind of like trying to figure this thing out together. And I did a lot of really cool things with Discover Card. You know, part of it was they just decided from the get-go Make-A-Wish Foundation was going to be their charity, and so everything we did media-wise involved Make-A-Wish Kids, Make-A-Wish Foundation, and we really created a lot of awareness and really raised a lot of money in our touring years because, you know, man, we were killing it back then with, you know, ticket sales and people getting involved. So Make-A-Wish Foundation was a great thing for us. And in any tour, if a tour doesn't have a philanthropic identity, they're more than likely going to fail because it's not just about them. It's about how they impact the community, how they impact their fan base, and how they really touch people that really need to be touched, moved, given memories, given opportunities. And so for us with Make-A-Wish, it was an amazing relationship that lasted a very long time, and I'm grateful for that every day.
But there's no textbook for that. So it's late 90s, and you've been associated generally with philanthropy, but you're basically committed to the drive, the concept of moving the Make-A-Wish Foundation and making it better, and also all of your examples have a philanthropic theme to it, like Special Olympics. Talk about that.
Well, Special Olympics, you know, it was funny. I met Eunice Shriver very early. Just, you know, she was everywhere. This woman there must have been 50 of her back in the day where she was just everywhere, and anything there was sports, and she was always recruiting, and she was always getting people on board. But she knew that since I was touring 10 or 11 months a year, I probably wouldn't be a very good helper, like in a dedicated way, right? So I was sort of around and doing things, and my coach had a student, and we did this Special Olympic events at this May Day Open in Baltimore. And we built this really wonderful thing. We're bringing in Special Olympic skaters from all over the country, and it was really great. And then I decided to step away from touring skating in 2001. And even before I did my last show, I'm on the phone with Bart Connor, and I'm on the phone with Tim Shriver saying, do you want to be on the board of Special Olympics International? And I said, well, I mean, I'm not going to be that busy anymore, so I'd love to fill that time. And so I went on with the board of Special Olympics, and I was there for 16, 17 years. My goodness, what an organization that is. And I have so many friends that I've made throughout the world that just love the organization, love the identity. And now, you know, I with my Cancer Foundation, the Skating Academy, what my wife is doing in Haiti, raising 4 kids, I realized that I couldn't serve in the capacity that I needed to serve. And so I told Tim Shriver I want to step away, and he said, you're still an ambassador. And I go, okay, but here's how I step away from Special Olympics on the board. We now have a grant from Prudential, which is going to allow us to build a special needs program where we can now build special needs skating program in our academy. It's dynamic. We've got the participation in this is going to be incredible. Unbelievable. It's one of the fastest growing Best Buddies communities in the country. And we've got this resource of the Predators and Roman Yossi and Kyle Turris and Annalise Barron, who built Best Buddies here. They're bringing us our skaters. And, you know, I called Tim Shriver to let him know what I was doing, and he's going, interesting timing. And I go, okay, what am I getting into now? And he said, well, in the next World Winter Games are in Sweden, and they want to do hockey as an exhibition sport. And he goes, do you think you could field a hockey team in 3 years?
There you go.
And I go, well, I guess I'm going to have to. So
skater, hockey, special needs, hockey guy, I mean, whatever it is.
No.
All right, we're segueing because this is, so struggles in earlier life, illnesses, setback, teach you to be stronger, one of the central messages of the book. But you tell us what the central message of the book is. This is critical. Everybody that's watching, you better get one of these.
Well, Finish First came out of a lot of conversations with different people about how people just they always have that desire. Like, I'd love to win something. Wouldn't it be? I'd love to get recognition. I'd love to have a victory. I'd love to have, if you want to honor somebody, anywhere in Africa, just give them a certificate. They're thrilled, right? Yeah. But it's like, or anywhere actually. Yeah. But when I think about, growing up as a kid, wanting to feel special, it was always about winning something. It was always about, what can I do to make my life special and meaningful, and to really feel that glow of having really a victory in my life. And I had a lot of setbacks. I had a lot of knockdowns. I had a lot of things. And through a lot of failure, through a lot of other components that would normally defeat somebody, I found a way to get stronger. And I figured out a way to go from being the guy that came in last a lot. I won some, but I was last in the important competitions. I needed to figure out a way to win. And I needed to figure out a way to really drive myself to take advantage of opportunity in order to be successful. And so it just sort of ended up in a book, and it's called Finish First, and it's basically a call to action for anybody that wants to change their lives for the better. It's an argument for and a guide to being the best you can be. And it's about creating a platform of a lot of small victories to have that big victory right there in front of you. And it's in many ways it's counterculture, because we live in a participation trophy society. We live in an instant gratification society where if you need something, all you have to do is pick up your phone. Yeah. And so it's a lot of the drive that would normally live in us to really do something special is taken away from us through, oh my goodness, through social media, through electronics, through all these other things, through the participation trophy, through recognition, through saving our children from the sting of failure. It's like failure, if you look at the recipe or a pie chart for success, failure is the largest single ingredient. In writing this, I figured out that from my first steps on the ice all the way to my last year as a professional, I fell down 41,600 times.
Got up every time.
Got up 41,600 times. And in that, I learned how to survive cancer. I learned how to survive all kinds of setbacks and issues in my life. And so the idea of Finish First is really just a book about how to take ownership of where you are, how to take an accounting of what your qualities are, what your talents are, to really identify your purpose, and then doing everything you can to answer that purpose. And my goodness, it can be anything from being, graduating college, to being a CEO of a company, to winning a competition, to being the best parent you can be, to, it has so many applications in athletics, academia, business, parenting, personal excellence, that I really truly believe that the second part of the title, Winning Changes Everything, is really apropos, because once you feel that victory, once you understand victory, then you crave it, and you understand that there's a process in order to get there, and there's a process that prevents you from getting there.
1972, you went to the national championships, you fell 5 times, you finished last. And you're quoted, "Looking back, I can't help but think about how important all of this losing was in terms of preparing me for my future success." You just made the comment, make it again, about how applicable this book is to everybody, not just a skater, not just a sports person.
Well, I mean, you learn through failure. You learn through, sometimes it stings, sometimes it physically hurts. Yeah. A lot of times it emotionally has spiritually has its setbacks. But all of that is a strengthening thing, because, again, once you get used to falling down and getting up, you realize that the getting up is the next opportunity, is the next it allows the next good thing to happen. So if I hadn't had those massive failures, early in my career, I watched so many of those kids that won those competitions. For them, that was their destination, and they just didn't really want to go any further than that. Yeah. For me, it was like my chin stuck out a little bit, and then I kept kind of going back to my losing ways. I struggled with consistency. And then all of a sudden, I got to a point where it's like, what if I do it this way? instead of that way. And then I see the benefits. What if, like, when I fell on my hip, like probably 300 times to the point where it was swollen from just above my knee to just above my waist with a floating cyst? What if I get that cyst taken out and now it hurts too much to fall on that hip. So I'm just not going to fall on it anymore. It's just, I'm going to start landing stuff. So failure teaches us, if that's the worst thing that can happen, I'm still here. Let's get busy and let's make sure that doesn't happen again. And if it does, learn from it. And if it happens again, learn from that. And then pretty soon you're going to start building that muscle in your brain that you're extremely resilient and you're able to face the next thing with courage and a great deal of tenacity.
You also write the number one predictor of whether you'll be a winner is if you decide to be one. What do you mean?
It's a personal choice. I mean, there's lots of things that go into it. It's showing up every day. It's outworking other people. It's making easy choices. It's it's being accountable. It's being committed. It's keeping your eye on the prize. There's this path to victory, and here it is. Here's your lane. And all this stuff out here is going to try to pull you out of your lane and try to knock you off your path. But if you're able to stay in your lane and stay with the program, you're probably going to be okay. And that means, like, if I have a class or a session at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, and some buddies go, hey, do you want to go to the midnight movie tonight? It's going to be really fun. It's a brand new, great movie. It's nobody's ever seen it before. We'll be the first ones to see it. It's like, do I make that choice? Or do I say, you know what, I'm going to see it as soon as the box office starts chilling a little bit. I'm going to make a decision to be rested for my class or my session, and then I get more out of it. And then you get consistent with those decisions, and my goodness, it changes everything. It does apply to everybody. So my question is, why can't you putt better? I am now. Seriously? Yeah. Okay. And I'm a good putter. Better? Yeah, you're playing better? I'm not playing better, but I'm a better putter because I've just decided to let the ball do the work. Oh, good. Wow. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I've seen it. We don't have time for a golf lesson, okay? And I think you'd be net disappointed. Lesson. The bottom line is, 5 years from now, where are you? 5 years from now, I want to have an Olympic-level skating program where we're building these skaters toward the Olympics. I want to have at least advanced, 3 or 4 or 5 proven treatments, in immunotherapy and targeted therapies to help people live their lives more legitimate and longer without the sting of chemotherapy. I'd love to have CARES have offices all over the country where we're able to help people one-on-one with their challenges and their issues, possibly in proton centers around the country, which is a really precise form of radcare.org, a really precise form of radiation that doesn't expose you to the secondary cancers and all the other toxicities of traditional radiation. There's a million things I'd like to be doing in 5 years. I know that in 5 years, 2 of my 4 kids will have launched, so I'll be, kind of half empty now. Yeah, that'll be. I'll be. My heart will be a little bit broken, but at the same time, they come back. I just want to be healthy and active in 5 years. That's the first thing, and that's up to me to stay in my lane and work out every day. But the biggest part is to see the Skating Academy grow into what I know it can be, and for CARES to become, a big dog in the cancer community, and grow our programs, grow our understanding and influence in the cancer research space, and to make an impact, for those that are fighting for their lives. Oh, is that all? That's it. I love you. Well, Scott Hamilton is one of those rare folks that transcends, certainly skating, transcends the Olympics, and in many ways transcends life. During the summer, his golf game is second to none, and when you consider what he's been through, he ought to get as many strokes as he wants. Well, let's go to basketball. Coming off a very successful All-Star weekend in L.A., the Sacramento Kings are looking to get a game in 2022 or 2023. Owner and chair Vivek Ranadive will present the team's bid to the league on February 23. Adam Silver, the commissioner, said he was determined to bring an All-Star game to Sacramento.
But then he followed up the comments by saying the city lacked hotel rooms. And one way to deal with it is that they could bring a cruise ship or cruise ships docked in the Port of Sacramento in West Sacramento. They've done it before in Jacksonville for the Super Bowl and the like. The Kings have one of the league's most cutting-edge arenas in the 2-year-old Golden One Center and expect Silver to make good on his word and place the All-Star game soon if the hotel room issue can be solved. Everybody's looking to try to do it. More and more NBA players starting to focus on entertainment ventures off the court, following the trend that Michael Jordan started years ago. Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James tap into the billions of dollars that Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google are pouring into original programming. Tony Parker, Blake Griffin, Steve Nash all either produced or developed scripted projects. James's Spring Hill Entertainment and Bryant's Granity Studios considered the leading examples of showing how serious players are taking their entertainment ventures. LeBron done such a great job so far, said Durant. It can actually be done, and other players are following it. The ease of content creation and distribution, coupled with the increasing demand from fans around the world, has created the perfect storm for more NBA players to take a crack at their own entertainment ventures. And not just the entertainment ventures, but a platform for social change. James and Durant shared their dissent for President Donald Trump in a video produced by James' uninterrupted multimedia platform, depicted them riding around in a car with ESPN's Kerry Champion. At this time right now, with the President of the United States, he says, and they say, it's a bad time, and while we can't change what comes out of the man's mouth, we can continue to alert the people that watch us and listen to us. That's not the way. While James and Durant were disparaged by polarizing Fox News pundit Laura Ingraham, it's clear that leadership skills and large following they've developed on court have earned them the right to use their considerable platform and not, as Ingram bleated, shut up and dribble. Probably backfired and will continue to backfire. And take a look at the NBA in other perspectives. They've got beginning to emerge from not just the pro side, but the college side. More and more schools are generating more and more money. University of Texas looks like they're trying to build a new basketball arena of 12,000 seats. Athletic Director Chris Del Conte notes the specific arrangements for the size of the building are being discussed. But in Austin, they need an arena, and they play in the AT&T Center in San Antonio, 18,000 seats, many more concerts. If this arena gets done, it certainly vaults Austin, not just the University of Texas, into the concert mix and otherwise. Let's shift to baseball. Can't wait. Spring training starting. Preseason grapefruit cactus just around the corner. And as MLB spring training gets underway, Jeffrey Loria claims no profit on the sale of his team, even though the price was $1.2 billion. He has a profit-sharing agreement with Miami-Dade County, the entities responsible for financing most of the development associated with the stadium. And he says that 5% of the sales proceeds less deductions are returned. Yet he claims zero in net proceeds after deducting $280 million in debt, $297 million in income tax on the sale, and $375 million in franchise value appreciation, $30 million in advisor fees. Miami-Dade Mayor Carlos Jimenez said the county will contest it clearly and legal action considered to recoup a portion of the proceeds. Jimenez estimates Loria placed hundreds of millions into his pocket, only the latest chapter in a long saga of questionable accounting that's the tale of Miami pro sports teams. As we've recounted time and time again, let's see how this one all shakes out. This deal is clearly not over. Finally, let's go to the NFL. It never sleeps. Never will. First, how about the draft? They're going to Dallas at the end of April, but Denver, Kansas City, Vegas, Nashville, Cleveland, finalists for future drafts. In 15 and 16, the draft held in Chicago. Up until then, always in New York. Then it goes to Philly. Now it goes to Arlington, and everybody wants it. Mark Davis, the head of the Raiders, says he wants it even before the Raiders start playing in their new stadium, but look for NFL protocol to award it to somebody else and maybe Vegas down the road. But clearly, this is an asset just like other assets, Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, other things. Well, it's not just the NFL, but they've got to prop up the entire sport. For the first time in a long time, college football attendance decreases, 1,500 fans per game, the lowest since the 97 season, 42,000 fans. All FBS conferences led by the SEC, 75,000, but yet they decreased a little bit as well. And in light of the declining numbers, the next wave of college stadiums may mimic the pros in opting for a smaller, more elite, more exclusive venue. Have to see how that all shakes out. Nevada, however, with the new Raiders coming in, or the Raiders coming in from Oakland, may bring in more philanthropy. The Raiders Foundation chairman Chris Mallory anticipates a significant increase in fundraising in 2018, saying coming to Vegas, they'll be having more philanthropic events, and Vegas had the third highest number of unaccompanied homeless youth, over 2,000 in 2017, and the Raiders are targeting that. The Golden Knights Foundation also focusing on homeless and others in a crowd of 400 business leaders involved in philanthropic giving all over Vegas. So the bottom line is, the more the NFL looks at a city, not just the NFL, clearly the NHL as well, the more philanthropy brought to that city, and obviously really important as well when you think about it. So part of the other issue with basketball as well is that we have individuals who are focusing on social change. Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and the NFL as well. John Stallworth, he devoted his post-Steelers career to philanthropy. He receives the Dapper Dan Lifetime Achievement Award, 14-year Hall of Fame career, 4 Super Bowl rings, 537 receptions. But he considers the establishment of the John Stallworth Foundation, which was founded in 1980, as one of his prime accomplishments. Went to Alabama A&M, highlight of his post-Steelers career. He retired at the age of 35 in 1987. The average NFL salary around $215,000. He earned an MBA while still a player, and in 86 he launched his company Madison Research, an aerospace and military contracting firm. And at his peak, Madison Research employed 750 people and grossed more than $80 million annually. He sold the company in 2006 for $69 million. Looking back, he credits his relationships with the Rooney family, the Kroom family, Sylvester Kroom and the like, and others for helping him open doors in the business world during his post-playing career. So when you think of Kevin Durant, LeBron James, really important, but let's remember there are others out there who are philanthropic as well, football and other sports. Well, that's it for Beyond the Scoreboard this week. We'd like to thank, obviously, Scott Hamilton. I'd like to thank Dan Martin and Tanner Simpkins for putting the podcast together as every week. And we'd like to thank you for listening and watching. Major League Baseball opening, focusing on golf and the Florida Swing, and a whole host of other events next week. And join us when we go Beyond the Scoreboard.